Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill went abroad to Scotland and came back without their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. We're going to get into it and more on today's episode of WrstlXtra. Stay tuned.
Yo, this is a WrstlXtra. I'm your boy, A Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate, always joined by my trios team, the Real House of Black, Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will, yeet, and of course, the omnipresent professor that is Gerard Bonner. Maybe I should start, instead of saying yo, I should now start saying, we're here.
That part right there.
Wow, finally 7 months of, is it even 7 weeks of
felt like 7 months
and QR codes. No, the Wyatt 6, there was only 5 of them, but the Wyatt 6 turned up on Raw last night, finally made an appearance in a massacre. I felt like Raw was already on Netflix because that was a movie. The ending to Raw was phenomenal, was amazing. And Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt 6 have finally arrived. It's not the usual thing we talk about on this show, but everyone's talking about it. So let's give it a few minutes real quick. Mex, what was your feeling when you started hearing the sound of the lights going down and everything turning to black? You knew what was about to happen, but I'm sure you didn't expect to see what we saw. What was your thoughts?
So let me be positive in terms of like a artistic point of view and stuff. I like it. Like, I was a big fan of The Fiend just because of what The Fiend looked like. I think they just done a great job in terms of the mask and everything like that. I think The Fiend was my last. It is the last time I'm really gonna let supernatural characters into my psyche in wrestling. Like, I don't think it works in this day and age. And this is where the challenge begins. The challenge begins is like, now, how do we book these 5 people, which are clearly some type of supernatural beings, on a main roster full of people chasing championships and this, that, and the other? Obviously, we saw the likes. I think I saw Chad Gable laid out. We saw a whole Gunther laid out. I didn't know Gunther's taking part in this pantomime because he doesn't even want to wear his crown for King of the Ring.
True.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a funny one. It looked good. They've done a good job of it all. But like I say, this is where the hard work begins now of how you differentiate a supernatural character from a regular being and how we go about booking this, and that it hopefully doesn't mess up some of the good work WWE have been doing with the booking.
Very true, very true. Gerard, you've been following all of the QR codes and all the rest of it. How does it feel now to finally see what we've been waiting for?
Here's the funny part. Literally 5 minutes before we came on, I went and watched it again. I stayed up really, really late last night to make sure that I could watch this thing because I was busy throughout the day, fell asleep, woke up, like all of the things. So this is where Mex and I will differ. I think TNA specifically has done a phenomenal job of really, inserting and infusing the whole supernatural piece for these off-the-wall characters that, are so outrageous that you just suspend all belief and all reality. WWE historically has had a hard time doing it, with the exception of The Fiend and all things connected to The Fiend. I think this is going to challenge a lot of us to, just let it be, right? Like, we're not going to sit back and look to see what kind of holes they're going to have, what kind of, moves they're going to do, how many titles they're going to win. I'm not interested in that with them. I'm interested in, okay, what kind of absolutely obscene and crazy things are they about to do? And the fact that we're now, and this is what's different perhaps about this more than any other thing, there's not been, and I have to really think about this, in the sport of wrestling, there has not been a moment where someone passed away and we continued their gimmick and we continued their idea. You know, now a Dusty Rhodes, for instance, who just had so many ideas for the business, I think is completely different. But, you know, we didn't see anybody else trying to be the American dream. You know, so I think the real challenge has always been, how are we going to continue this vision of Bray Wyatt in a way that we will enjoy these characters without everything having to be built on Bray? Kind of reminds me of when Rey Mysterio ended up winning the Royal Rumble and the World Championship following the death of Eddie Guerrero as a way to honor Eddie. At some point, we had to get past that and remind ourselves that this is Rey Mysterio. Like, he can do this, whether it's connected to this or not. So I'm very interested to see how all of these characters will work, how it's revitalizing all of their careers. What will this mean in the WWE universe? That I think that's the question that only time will answer. But the debut itself, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
I think I take from both of you when I say, in my opinion, the spectacle, the production of it was brilliant, beautiful, phenomenal, all of that. My worry as well is what happens from here. How do they tell their stories? How do they, how do they put them out there, and all this kind of thing? My thing when we had Bray Wyatt, when we had the Fiend and the Firefly Funhouse and all that kind of stuff, for me personally, it got to a point where I was like, yeah, I'm not sure if this works. You know, in terms of the longevity of it, some of the things that happened, like the blackout, was it the blackout match, the Mountain Dew blackout match? Let's be very specific. You know, the stuff with Randy where everything was burning, then you had Sister Abigail, and then you didn't, and then you had Alexa, and then you did, like all of that kind of stuff. I'm intrigued. I'm excited for the stars, the superstars that are seemingly involved. We know exactly who they all are. You know, Nikki Cross, you've got Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy, Bo Dallas, and the tall, I'll forget his name. Rowan, that's the one, Eric Rowan. And there's a possibility. We only saw 5 people. It's supposed to be 6, even though they didn't spell it as 6, but the possibility of Alexa Bliss as well. I'm excited to see what they do with all of those guys. Especially with Lumis, Gacy, and Cross, who have never really, you know, Gacy's come up from NXT. Lumis never really had anything to do, or we haven't seen him for over a year. Nikki Cross has kind of been in and out. Bo Dallas, again, kind of in and out, disappeared for a long time, come back. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with those guys. But yeah, my only fear in all of this is how does the whole supernatural tendencies and all that kind of stuff now fit in to what we've come to you know, accustomed to now with WWE being a lot more kind of almost sports orientated. As Mech said, everyone's chasing a championship in some way, shape, or form, especially those that we see on a regular basis on TV. So yeah, that's going to be the challenge. It's not necessarily a fear, but I think that's going to be the real challenge with all of this. And
I'll just add, if I can just add quickly.
Yeah, go.
I said it too, and I said supernatural as well. However, as it stands right now, there isn't actually anything supernatural about them.
No, right.
They've clearly just come through, maybe beating up.
They're horror, more so horror.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
So that might be the route to go.
True.
More so than let's start doing magic and stuff like
that.
You might take it out of the realm of believability or whatever. But yeah,
I think it's fun. I think the other thing to consider is we saw, for the most part, Bray Wyatt under Vince McMahon's watch. This is where, you know, now we have to see what does Triple H's watch do, you know? And so my thought is, given all of the goodwill that Triple H has built nearly over the last 2 years with WWE, certainly longer with what he's done in NXT, you know, you sit back and you go, okay, if they're going to introduce this idea, They've clearly taken time.
Yep.
They've clearly taken effort. So now I want to see how he works this in to this universe that he has created. And I think that's where it's going to be interesting. And it's hard because all that we have known of WWE has been Vince McMahon influenced. So, you know, going back to The Undertaker and Papa Shango, and, you know, Vince McMahon loved doing that kind of stuff whenever he could. So it'll be interesting to see now how this fits in and where, you know, because the other thing that was tough was we never fully got this whole thing between Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy. You know, the story started, we had some wild things, and it never had a resolve. You know, we never got to the point of understanding. So I wonder, you know, and again, we probably won't know until maybe next week at least. You know, I don't know if there's going to be an interview, if there's going to be some sort of backstage situation, what, you know. But part of the reason why I'm going to watch it again is because now I need to see what did I miss, right? Who are the people? The only person that I really recognized that was knocked out was Chad Gable. So now I got to look again. Like you said, Gunther was in there. I was like, what? So I need to go back and look through, because there has to be some strategic nature to why they went after who they went after, unless it was just whoever was back there at that particular time, you know. But I love that new characters have been introduced, you know. So we only really knew in person of course, Rowan and then Uncle Howdy, but I don't know the names of these other three characters. You know, so that's going to be interesting. And is the sixth one Alexa Bliss, or is it the Lantern of Bray Wyatt? You know, those are all questions still to be answered. But again, the way they gave this to us last night, well worth the wait. And it capped off a crazy episode of Raw last night.
Yeah, it was a good episode of Raw last night. I think with all the people that were, you know, massacred in the back. I mean, you know, even with the whole QR codes, they promised their massacre.
Yeah, they did. And I wondered what that was really going to mean.
Right.
You know?
Right. I think a few theories and names and whatever else. I did recognize Carlito as one of them. I think Dragunov. I saw.
Really? See,
yeah.
I gotta look again.
Yeah, I saw Braun Strowman.
Really?
A few. Yeah. Braun Strowman was laid out on one of the cabinets. He was laid out with his arms out, head back, all the rest of it. Yeah.
What? Okay, yeah.
And then one of the first heads that we saw had Cameron, so I didn't know if it was Carmelo Hayes, but I thought, no, he's on SmackDown, so it can't be him. And so I wasn't sure whether it was him, Kofi Kingston. So I don't know.
I think that's what someone say online, that Triple H was laid out.
Yeah, apparently Triple H was one of them as well.
That would make sense if they're back there in Gorilla, you know. And so that I got to go look and see.
I think Pritchard was one as well, being in it was in Gorilla as well. So
wow,
yeah, it's going to be interesting. I wonder whether they'll have some kind of presence on SmackDown. It's a possibility.
They're not drafted.
Exactly. A funny thought I had actually when we were just talking about this as well, and we were talking about the whole thing of WWE being a bit different and whatever else. The funny thought that I had, you know how we've kind of seen at the start of Raw, like everyone walking in with their suitcases and whatever. Like, what if we see them walking with their suitcases?
Oh God! Oh wow!
It'll be done. Mystique over.
Oh Lord! But one thing that they do is bring a different element that we haven't seen, like we've said, in a long time, in a while. So that's going to be interesting. Let's take our thoughts back to Clash at the Castle up north in Glasgow, as the Americans say, Glasgow, Scotland. Mex, of course, you made the trip, you made the long travel up there, putting yourself to work as well. Just give us a quick synopsis of your experience of, you know, what you did, including the exclusive that you got from the man that now seems dead, Chad Gable, and anything else interesting from that weekend.
Yeah, it was good. These are always kind of exciting trips to make. And yeah, I had the privilege of doing press for this channel, WrestleManiac UK. As of tomorrow, the interviews and stuff that I've done will start dropping and stuff. I've just been recuperating since coming back to London. So yeah, I put those out. I think on the day we found out very early, which apparently was on Instagram as well, but we found out it was meant to be Bianca and Jade in our press junket, and Jade didn't come because her luggage was lost.
Oh wow.
Didn't make it in, or maybe initially or something like that. I can imagine she was quite annoyed by that, and I think we were told that obviously that leaves her with not many clothes to come out and wear in a press junket. She had her gear on her, maybe in the hand luggage, but yeah, so she was already kind of out of the picture, and that was someone I really did want to kind of speak to as well and pose some questions at. So it was a shame that she wasn't there, but yeah, Bianca Belair was there representing, who initially probably was a bit maybe peed off as well, maybe because she obviously planned to come in with a tag team partner. Maybe she's just feeling it for her tag team partner, one or the other. But she did warm up later on in the morning. Yeah, and just loads of fanfares. It's very weird being in the hotel where the talent was staying, because yeah, they're just walking around everywhere. Fans obviously catch wind of them. They start hanging around trying to get autographs and stuff. We saw CM Punk very early in the morning when we got there, and it's a bit of a shame because we got there at 8:30 to start preparing and stuff like that. By about 8:45, he was just in the lobby. He nearly got in the same lift as us. His intention was to, and then the next lift elevator came and it opened up, and then AJ was there as well, AJ Lee.
Okay.
And AJ Lee said to him, we all heard it, aren't people gonna see you? Like, and he's basically said, I don't give a F if people see me. And then obviously I think he probably went and saw some pictures he was taking with people on social media and stuff like that. And it wasn't that this was a surprise, but yeah, obviously we know he's in the WWE, but it's like, yeah, like kind of keep a lower profile, I guess, to kind of maintain the mystique around him being there or not. I will say off camera, we spoke to Drew, and Drew wasn't happy that he was just kind of parading himself around and stuff like that. So CM Punk maybe being CM Punk again. But apart from that, it was really fun. It was a really good show. Seeing Naomi was a surprise. Chelsea Green told me in the interview I had with her that she's got to have the match with Naomi on the night or on SmackDown, which I was like, oh, great. So I get to see Naomi live, which was really good. And then obviously we got the ladies in the tag match the night after. Yeah, it was busy, just thing after thing after thing, back to back. And then we had the live pod, and we spoke to Nick Aldis, we spoke to Chad Gable, which was great. But yeah, just busy, and now I've got to come home and start editing everything and getting it out. Yeah, but it was good, man. It's good. I can't complain.
It's not just a weekend, it's a week's worth of work.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, when you do things like that, man, for sure. So coming off the back of Clash at the Castle, as you said, we saw Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair defend their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark and Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Of course, the end result was that the hometown girls, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, won the tag team championships. Gerard, how do you feel?
I was initially very shocked. Very shocked. I mean, like, my jaw dropped. Like, wait, what? Now figuring that, there were all title matches and so many people from Scotland that were there, I figured everybody couldn't lose from Scotland. But I thought perhaps maybe the person who would get the rub would be Drew. So this came as a surprise. A couple of days removed from it, I can say that, most people forgot just how good that team of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn were. The final NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, really many felt like they should have been the merged tag titles when you merge the NXT and the WWE women's tag titles. So there's a thought that perhaps they're righting the wrong for that and helping to kind of reset the women's tag division. Certainly, you cannot make the statement that they are not deserving, given all that Alba Fire, aka Kaylee Ray, has done, the forever NXT UK Women's Champion. You know, over 600 days, the longest reign of any woman in the modern era for a championship, longer than Bianca Belair and anybody else. So there's that. We just hadn't seen them on TV much, and I think people discounted them for that reason. They did not pin Jade and Bianca, so that's kind of the cool part about this. I really feel like Jade and Bianca are just starting to hit their stride. I don't think this means that they break up as a tag team. To me, what I don't think anybody saw coming is the organic chemistry between Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. You can tell they hang out outside of the ring. You can tell they hang out outside of matches. And that clip that's been floating around of Bianca Belair, you know, literally saying, chin up. Like, that's a big sister. That is what you're supposed to do. And to see Jade kind of go, okay, you know, she needs that presence of Bianca. So I don't think that they break up as a team. I think there's more for them to accomplish. I wouldn't be surprised if they regain the tag titles sometime soon. But how I felt, initial reaction, absolute shock.
And this is the thing. So amongst our people, when we saw that Jade and Bianca had lost the titles, held them for, I think it's 65 days. I think
very short reign.
Very short reign. So people are kind of like, you know, up in arms, saying, how can you take them off them? You know, they were supposed to elevate the tag team titles and whatever. Mex, do you feel as though that is the end of that possible elevating of these of these championships? Like, is it the end for those two ladies to be able to elevate the championships, or is there still some kind of strategy or chance for that to still happen?
Yeah, I think there's still room for it to happen. We just need to make sure we don't fall into a place where now it's on the lesser star names that we treat it in any other fashion. You know, Jade and Bianca were on every TV show that they were in the last couple of weeks. They crossed over to Raw a couple of times as well. So if Isla Dawn and Alba Fire are Raw talents, I want to see them on every Raw, whether they are cutting promos or having matches. They need to be on every Raw. They need to be visible. Raw seems to have the majority of the women's talents and the women's tag team talents as well. So it shouldn't be hard for them to book these women into matches and stuff like that. Jade and Bianca can still be big names within the division that, you know, go on to kind of have matches and, you know, I guess flirt with getting another opportunity with the title. And I do assume that they will get another opportunity fairly soon. My one thing that I said was that, yeah, my prediction was Jade and Bianca to win, but when you have a triple threat match, you know how it goes. The champion doesn't need to be pinned. We're in Scotland. You put two Scottish girls in the match, that it was always possible. It still didn't stop me from screaming when it happened, but like it was always possible. And yeah, I think the women's division, like I was really enjoying, for instance, on Raw when they had the qualifying match for the Money in the Bank, Zelina Vega, Kiana James, and Io Sky. They let them go. They let them go for a reasonable long time. And this is that immediately you've made, wow, the qualification is important. It's important for all of these women. They're slugging it out. Zelina Vega, more than anyone, got a lot of, you know, spots within that match to really kind of show herself. So yeah, it's just to kind of demonstrate all of this stuff. Chad Gable said to me in the interview, he said that Triple H promised everyone basically that he wants to kind of create consistent TV for everyone every week. Even if it's a minute, 2 minutes, you get like you're on TV every week. And that is the least that they can do for these women tag titles. And Triple H came into the press conference and was like, Obviously, Alba Fires recently went through some tragedy in the last month. And this isn't a reaction to that. We're not giving her the title because she just went through tragedy sort of thing. And a lot of people already think that's the case. And a lot of people already think you only done it because it's Scotland. So now it's for Triple H to kind of back it up almost and give these ladies, if not like a long, significant run of 60-something days, like you said, or more, at least put them in this position every week, make them feel like Jade and Bianca, even though they're not, basically.
I think for me, the only mistake maybe leading to the change in championship is, yes, we saw Alba and Isla on TV maybe 3 weeks to 4 weeks in a row. I think the challenge was it didn't feel as though they could have done more with them, I think. Or maybe for a little bit longer. So maybe a few, matches where they win, or probably more devastating attacks or something backstage or whatever else, stuff like that. Maybe. Again, I'm not necessarily, in hindsight, I'm not upset that Jade and Bianca have lost the titles. It's not only long title reigns that establish a title. Sometimes it's multiple reigns, and I think that's the challenge that they now have. I would have expected Jade and Bianca to come for Isla and Alba straight away, but we've already seen Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler, speak to them backstage last night on Raw. So maybe they're the next challengers. If Isla Dawn and Alba Fire retain in a great match, no problem. For me, that's the minimum really that should be done. These are titles at the end of the day, and I think we've been waiting. Everyone's talking about the establishing of the titles and yada, 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 but it doesn't have to be on one team for a long time for that to really be establishment. I think the establishment is making it feel important, making it feel as though these people actually want it. And I think through great matches, great promos, we'll get that. We had that a lot with the Intercontinental Championship for a very long time with different people, whether that be The Miz, whether that be Chris Jericho back in the day, even with Gunther. Yes, that was a long title reign, but that could have been, if those matches weren't great, if the opponents weren't great, it wouldn't have bothered anybody. No one wouldn't have cared about it. So it's not just about it being on someone for a long time. It's just about how it feels, how important it feels with the people involved around the title. So I'm not worried for Jade and Bianca. Again, I think one of you guys said it. I'm not expecting them to break up anytime soon either. I'd be very surprised if that happens. I think, Gerard, it was you that said, Jade needs that for, at the moment with Bianca as well. So, and it also gives Bianca something to do, because if Bianca splits from Jade, we've kind of already got ladies in the championship scene in singles competition. So where would you fit Bianca, or how, it's either where do you fit her, or you have to force her in? It wouldn't feel right. So let's hope that they continue doing what they're doing, and we'll see them in and around that division to establish these championships for sure.
Quick question, quick thoughts. We are approaching the beginning of the NXT CW deal. Do you think maybe there could be a possibility they might be thinking they make one of these women, the Jade Bianca, NXT Women's Champion, to help the beginning of that? Same way kind of they sent Becky down there. Just as an initial kind of champion in and around the time when the deal starts.
I think there's a possibility. It's not something you can scratch off at all. But I believe that they're trying to create stars with the ladies that are there already. And I think they're in a very good position to be able to do that. They've got about 3 months from now before that CW deal, or before they have that debut on CW. And we've talked about it in length on this show the last month. With the level of the ladies and the strength of the women's division at the moment. It doesn't mean that, it's easy to create stars, but I think it's very, very possible that they can do that without having to rely on one of the ladies who are on the main roster, like a Bianca or like Becky Lynch did a few months back and all the rest of it. But it's not impossible. And out of the two, if they were to do it, it's difficult. It's difficult. You'd say Bianca because she's clearly established. If we're going to go down the same vein as a Becky Lynch, or you can say Jade because she's a star, and at the same time it would kind of not necessarily probably make more sense in terms of where she's at in her career. When we first heard about the CW deal, when we first heard about Jade coming to WWE, we talked about it in length on this show. Her being in NXT in order to establish herself and maybe build the women's roster. So that's a difficult question, but it's not out of the question. It's not out of the question. I don't know.
Yeah, I think of the two, it would be Jade, although there's a case that you could make where Bianca had never won the NXT title, much like, what we saw with Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
But I think for Jade, she still hasn't had much of a singles run in WWE as of yet. So if you send her to NXT with the stardom that she has, it's something that would make sense. I also think the answer to that, though, will also be based on this deal they currently have with TNA and how much additional crossover we'll see by then. What's to say that it's not a Jordan Grace at that particular point, finally winning that championship. So I think they have a lot of options. They have a lot of options. And it will be interesting to see how they pull that trigger. But I think a Jade Cargill star power would be great in NXT, but also her, I don't want to call it lack of experience, but still not having a lot of WWE reps as a single star under her belt makes it feel more realistic for someone from NXT to be able to take the title off of her. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, the whole Jordan Grace thing is a very strong possibility. Whether that's whether she's still holding the Knockout Championship or not, whether she's a double champion, but just being able to say that a TNA contracted woman who has more or less legendary status as a knockout, being NXT champion, whether she wins it on the night or the first night on CW or the week before and appears, whatever it is, like that alone creates buzz in the wrestling world, and then it will create a buzz for non-wrestling fans as well who are CW regulars. Yeah, you know what I mean. So that would actually be very interesting for me. That would probably be like my main option.
Yeah, because if you look at a Jordan Grace or a Jade Cargill, you look at them, you have to look twice.
Right.
You can't turn your face. No offense to Roxanne, but if you want to catch somebody's attention when they're flipping through the channels, that's Jordan Grace or Jade Cargill.
Very true. Very true. Thank you, Mex, for giving me the perfect segue, because tonight, on tonight's NXT, we know that there's going to be a 25-man battle royal to determine Trick Williams' next #1 contender for the NXT Championship. Trick was, spoke with Cody Rhodes last week on NXT. Cody Rhodes informed him of how they were going to determine his next challenger, and the most interesting part of all of it was it's going to be 25 people. It's going to be 25 men. Some of them you may know. Some of them are from other locker rooms. I jumped back in my seat when I heard that. I jumped back in my seat because the possibilities are endless right now, because it's not just TNA.
Right.
We've seen that AJ Styles is going to be performing at Noah. We've seen, over the WrestleMania weekend that, Shayna Baszler was involved in Bloodsport and whatnot. So there's those links there. We've seen so many others as well. We know that, yes, it's ladies stuff, but, Io Sky is going to be at the Marigold show. So there are all these different possibilities, people coming from here, there, and everywhere. Do we think that we will see people from literally different promotions, or will it be just NXT and TNA? Mex, what are your thoughts?
I think it could be people from all over the place because, like you said, they're open to that seemingly. I guess maybe what's easiest is NXT and TNA. Other locker rooms could, and I don't mean to play it down, but it could mean Raw and SmackDown. It
True.
could mean Raw and SmackDown as well.
True.
But of course, we want to see people from other places. So, what I'm trying to kind of think in my head is who, because it's a battle royal, no one's gonna be like making an entrance. So, will they be putting in? Because, for instance, I would like to see a Kevin Knight. I think that would be great. Like, I'm thinking of, I'm already thinking of Kevin Knight versus Trick.
Yes,
like,
my lord.
But at the same time, like, would the crowd know? Is what would the crowd give him his flowers, if you see what I mean? Right. Especially without an entrance. If it's just I don't know how they're gonna do this. Just start the match, and these randoms are gonna be in the ring. Like, it's gonna be a bit.
I don't think it's gonna be the same old kind of, like Andre the Giant Battle Royal, maybe for example, where it's
they give a few people
one time
entrances.
Yeah. I expect there'll be some music playing. People will come out. Gerard, you go. My head's just going tentative.
And we forgot to mention earlier this year how Charlie Dempsey headed over to All Japan to be involved in that. So there are lots of places they could pull from. I want to see one of two things happen. Either they tell us that they're doing this, Royal Rumble style, where, every minute or so we can see the entrances happen.
Yeah.
Or, they start the segment off with a handful of people in the ring, and then we get to see the entrances at the start. So we know who's coming. One of those two ways. In terms of who appears, well, say his name. He'll appear.
Oh, Lord.
I believe. I think we're gonna see Joe Hendry tonight.
I would not be surprised. I think that's the perfect person to bring out. To be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's interesting is the way that NXT crowd popped when Jordan Grace first showed up. The consistent TNA chants. It says to me that this resembles that NXT crowd of the black and gold era, where they are wrestling savvy, wrestling smart. So you could afford to bring over people from some different places that they would go, whoa, you know what I mean? And I think they're looking to create some whoa moments. And I think that whoever would come over from TNA is somebody who would have a strong chance of winning. And that's what I think could be interesting. Could we see, good Lord, a Josh Alexander show up? Could we? I don't even. I'm scared to say it, but I want to say it. Could we see Jonathan Gresham show up? I mean, his wife showed up. Why can't he show up?
He was at Battleground.
He was at Battleground. So I think the possibilities really are endless. Jake something could make his way over. Which I think, or let's kind of talk about the really obvious one. Mustafa Ali.
That's the one
division champion.
No.
If he comes up, think about how crazy it would be. Mustafa and Trick. Mustafa hasn't lost since he left the WWE.
That's true, actually.
Does he come back and complete this journey and beat Trick? I think this is the beautiful part about this is the possibilities are endless, and they've been doing a good job of giving us enough of what we want. So I don't think we're going to see 10 men from TNA there. I think we might see 2 or 3, but whoever they are will have a significant opportunity. We might see some Raw or SmackDown, and we might see them, pull something. They're looking to do a partnership with Mexico or Puerto Rico or, so we could see a little of anybody showing up. And this is for you guys. This one's for you guys.
And I think the beauty
Leon
of it is...
Slater. He's a TNA talent.
The youngest in charge. I mean, this is the beauty of it as well. Even with a Leon Slater, he doesn't have to feel as though he could win. All he has to do is do a good few moves, maybe get eliminated by somebody, maybe that then sets up a future match or something like that. I think that's, for me, that's the most important part. The three things for me, I think the most important are, we see people from different places. However many different places that is, I don't think it really matters, but different places. We see whoever comes from a different place has a strong chance of winning or does win. And then, you know, the other one being that, you know, if these people come from different places and don't win, at least set up some kind of feud or match with someone from NXT. I think I just need to see those three things happen, and I'm good. In terms of who, my mind goes all over the place. It could be anyone. I don't want to get too excited and, you know, see the system come into NXT. Anyway,
well, Moose thinks he's too good for NXT, so
let me know.
There's
you know
that.
what? You know, he's been very vocal about showing up in WWE. Of course, WWE have tried to sign him in the past, and he said no. He's stayed loyal to TNA, but he has said he would love to be in the Royal Rumble and wherever and however he's used in this, you know, the possibility of being used in this whole crossover. He's excited by it, but at the same time, he says it doesn't matter whether it's him or someone else from TNA. He'll just be happy because it's TNA on WWE TV. So, Moose, please, just come on. Just.
I must say,
Moose and Oba.
That'd be nice. Unpopular opinion here. Whoever it is, even if it's like someone maybe within NXT, I think they should beat Trick.
I don't know if that's unpopular.
I don't think that's unpopular, to be honest.
Especially by July.
Yeah, I don't actually think that's unpopular. Right. I don't think that people are begging for Trick Williams to have a long title reign and all this kind of stuff. And it's not to sound offensive towards him at all, but I think his NXT championship win was what was supposed to happen. But at the same time, I don't think it was kind of like in a sense where we now expect him to have this long run and then establish himself in the same way maybe a John Cena did, you know, when he first won his title or stuff like that. Like, if he loses, then he loses. As long as he's still around the top end of the card, I think I'm okay. If he loses, I'm not fussed. The only problem is his, let's be real now, let's talk about this actually. His booking since winning the championship hasn't been great. He's had one defense, and that was against someone who came out of nowhere. And no one apart from Noam Dar, who got beat up, no one's kind of really challenged him. No one within NXT has actually really challenged him or given him something to think about and all that kind of stuff. So that's the only issue. If he does lose, you know, from whoever wins this Battle Royal, that's the only negative part about it. But I don't think I'd be upset if he lost.
You invoked the name of John Cena, and it made me think that really Trick Williams needs the first world championship kind of run that John Cena had. Probably. And what I mean by that first run that he had was us literally watching John Cena become a main event star. Where he had matches where we had to sit back and go, oh, we really got to call him champ. He can really wrestle. Like, he can really put on. I think Trick Williams needs that, because the challenge that has happened for Trick, extremely charismatic. And it was on this very show that Diamond Dallas Page said he was the one. And we all kind of went, oh. And then he's done that. Amazing connection with the audience. Incredible, you know, theme song, like all of the elements that people want to have. The challenge, though, has been as his and I don't want to be terribly critical of him, because you know, some of the people that we call the greats in our sport were not the greatest of wrestlers. The Rock, Stone Cold, Mick Foley. They were not your catch as catch can 5-star kind of athletes, but they had all of the other things that made it work. I think Trick Williams needs that John Cena first run as champion, where he was, you were like, think about that. That first run saw him beat Triple H at WrestleMania, saw him beat Shawn Michaels in some classics, Big Show, like some people where he had to really dig deep. Umaga, I think Trick needs that. I guess the real question is, has all of the mid-card divisions in NXT, men and women, been built so strong that there isn't anybody on that main event level right now for Trick to fight? I think that's the challenge, because I don't know that I can name anybody right now.
I feel as though that is the issue for me.
When we say that, sorry, are we just talking about good wrestlers? Because I wouldn't say there's not any kind of blockbuster main eventers, but there's like top wrestling talent there.
That's in the main event status right now.
Right.
That's the question.
Everyone's kind of
like, because again, in the North American Championship, we got Wes Lee, we've got Coffee, we've got, they're building Josh Briggs, there are all of these people we can name. But with Carmelo gone, with Braun gone, with Baron Corbin gone, who's in that main event with Dragunov gone? Who's in the main event status right now that we could put against Trick? Noam Dar was the only one.
It should be Noam Dar,
and even the
only one.
But even with Noam Dar, you wouldn't have thought about Noam Dar until he confronted Trick Williams.
Correct.
You wouldn't have thought of him. For me, the only person in terms of kind of like, just because of recent storyline, for me, the only person would be Joe Coffey.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone else.
It's Joe Coffey and Noam Dar, and if he looks like he's busy with some other stuff right now, but Wesley. These are like the top of the card of, these are the more experienced guys that Trick needs to be kind of tangling with to build himself up.
And the only other person would be, if they wanted to go all out, would be Obafemi. But maybe
that's all North American title stuff.
Yeah. But maybe that's too early because he's still holding North American title. I wouldn't want to see the whole. He would make it believable. But I wouldn't want to see the double champion thing, and we've done it before with Keith Lee. We'd then be kind of doing too much of a comparison with Keith Lee and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we leave that alone for now if we ever do it again. But yeah, that is a difficulty with Trick Williams at the minute. So this is why this battle royal kind of feels, important in that respect, where they have to find a way to establish who this person is. But then, but it then begs the question. So the last person, obviously, his first defense was against Ethan Page, who's kind of come out of nowhere. There was no real storyline. It's like a week or 2 weeks before Battleground itself. He didn't exactly establish himself in NXT to kind of, for us to say that he should be facing Trick Williams. If then whoever wins this battle royal is from a different locker room, are we kind of faced with the same issue? We
are. But I think there are a couple of things. One, it's just a few weeks away with Heat Wave. So the question is, does NXT have the ability to just automatically catapult other people within the ranks into the main event picture?
Sure.
The Wesley piece would have made the most sense to do, but when he said he was going after his North American Championship, it was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Joe Coffey's the only one that has made intentions clear for both to where he could go after that, and we'd go, okay, this makes sense. Anybody else right now, we're going, how did that happen? Honestly, the Noam Dar thing only worked because of Lash Legend and Metaphor. Other than that, we'd have been going, oh, that's random, So that I think is the challenge here. And they're going to have to feed him people right now until they decide, okay, we're going to have multiple people, because the people who got the call up were all the main event guys.
Of course. Yeah. Mex, you kind of started this bag of worms. Is there anyone that you think could walk through that door? And I say this in, to be realistic, not just kind of pick out the best person from TNA or the best person from wherever. who's going to walk through that, who's going to walk through into that battle royal that should win and beat Trick? Is there a name or a few names that you have in your head?
Yeah, there's a few people. Like I said, I think Joe Hendry's a very good shout, to be fair, that Gerard said. I'm trying to think of names that they already maybe have a relationship with. Someone like Kushida, they've got a relationship with. Mustafa Ali. Yeah. There might be some bad blood there, but I think they could do business. I think he would be willing to do business if it came down to it as well. Trent Seven is someone for me as well. Obviously, he kind of left the company through, they might be some other reasons around that, but someone that they could look to bring in as an experienced head that can come in and, the crowd will know him and he can be an experienced kind of champion for the NXT brand. Any other person, I think, is just it's more so to like pop the crowd, but it's like, would they really win? Like, I would like to see someone like a Chris Bay come in.
That's
but I just don't know if they would put their championship on him.
No.
So yeah, he could be a good match for Trick Williams and definitely fit like the current NXT aesthetic. But yeah, I don't know if he would become champion.
I think the only two people for me, in a very realistic way, would be Mustafa Ali or Josh Alexander. I think Joe Hendry is more of the pop category than the champion category. But yeah, Josh Alexander, Mustafa Ali, the only two I can really think would work as NXT champion as well. Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tricky one.
Fun.
It's going to be very interesting. It may have me staying up to watch NXT live. It may do. Yeah. Speaking of surprises and whatnot, imagine this actually. Nah. We saw Patrick Clark was at Change for wrestling over the weekend. Imagine Patrick Clark walking through that door.
People would go.
Nah.
They'd go insane.
It's not impossible, but
not impossible.
Ooh,
would they dare? Would they dare touch him? Like,
yeah, I almost feel like they need a few more. Like, he needs a few more public appearances. He needs to be in a few more locker rooms. There just needs to be a few more things demonstrated, and enough other content and other thoughts out there that make what happened before kind of really fade away in the distant past.
For sure. But it's still in my head. Anyway, but keeping on with Patrick Clark, Gerard, you will be working with him very soon, or closely to him very soon with All Caribbean Wrestling. Give me a little bit more about what's happening with All Caribbean Wrestling over the next few weeks. They're going to be all over, literally all Caribbean. So just give me some more information on that, please.
Yeah, so some big things are happening. June the 28th is the 29th is the Baja Bash happening at Nassau, Bahamas, and Patrick Clark will be a part of that. And if my memory serves me correctly, I think he's actually battling for the All Caribbean Championship against Pope. So it's going to be a big deal. Mark Henry's going to be present. Kenny King is coming through, like Lindsay Dorado. There are a lot of names, Maserati. A lot of people are coming through, and it's going to be something very, very special happening again, June 29th. And then the following week, July the 6th, is Jam Slam. It's happening in Kingston, Jamaica, and that's going to be nuts. It is going to be a full day event, something for, there's going to be bouncy houses for kids. There's going to be, meet and greets. There's going to be a concert at the end of the show. And then during the show, it will be amazing. And some of the big news that's just dropped is one of the primary sponsors for this is actually the nation of Jamaica. Like the whole island literally. Is supporting this, which is massive when you think about how significant that is for all Caribbean wrestling. Mark Henry will be present for that as well. And I believe, I don't want to get it wrong, I believe Patrick Clark is a part of that show as well. If not, guys, don't kill me.
He's on the poster.
Yeah, so he's scheduled to be there. I've heard a few other names tossed around that I'm not sure if I can mention just yet, but
come on.
I don't want to get it wrong, and then people are just like, no, I'm not supposed to. Look, I don't want that smoke. All right, I'm giving the fireflies back. Okay, I don't want the smoke. So for me, I think it's gonna be amazing. So if you guys are looking for a chance to come to the Caribbean, there are two great opportunities to check it out. I've heard some insane numbers for the folks that are coming through in the Bahamas. Like pre-sales are ridiculous. It's going to be, and Jamaica is looking fantastic as well. So both of those are amazing times. Again, if you want ticket information, you can just go to allcaribbeanwrestling.com. All of the information is there. But the nation of Jamaica is literally backing this show, Jam Slam.
So crazy.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane. So shout out to our friends over at All Caribbean Wrestling. I will be there for both of those shows. And it's just very exciting times right now.
Just make sure there's enough space in your suitcase to fit me in.
Come on.
I can be there in Jamaica. I'm excited for the Kentish brothers as well, who are from Jamaica.
Yes.
So that should be interesting for them. Also as well, Gerard, the omnipresent man that you are. There is also Ashe, which is happening. I believe it's this weekend.
This Saturday, that's right.
Give us more information about that one.
Ashe 4 is going down this Saturday, and it's slated to be one of the biggest cards in the history of Ashe, which is saying something, given all that Ashe has been able to do. Some incredible matches are happening on this one. A rematch from For the Culture. The main event for the Culture was Billy Dixon and Darius Carter. They are going to run it back. These two have been joined at the hip, and they don't like each other. So it's going to be crazy. One of the UK's own will be there. A man like Darius, he'll be involved in a triple threat match against the gifted one, Yaya, and LeBron Cozone. And for those who aren't familiar with Cozone has been an incredible trainer. If you guys love what you've been seeing with Javon Evans in NXT, trained by LeBron Cozone. Cozone has just done incredible work, so it's great to finally see him inside of a ring at Ashe. Tootie Lynn is back. She'll be taking on Karen Bam Bam Renee, which I'm really pumped for. Owen Knight is taking on Darian Bankston, and I'm really pumped for that one as well. We mentioned Kevin Knight. He will be on that show against Ian Maxwell. The two matches that everybody's been talking about, the reunion of Fire and Flava taking on the King Bees, which I think is going to be
nice one.
That's
a nice one.
That's a game changer there.
Yeah.
And then the main event, of course, we'll see Jonathan Gresham taking on Shelton Benjamin. We talk about dream matches.
Is crazy.
Ridiculous.
Dream matches in spaces of black wrestling. Like, this is just, I don't know that it gets much bigger than that. I really, really don't. Darius Lockhart has a special announcement as well. Like, there's so much that's going to be going on for Ashe 4. It's going down this Saturday in Charlotte, North Carolina. Tickets are available, and it will stream live across the world. So if you're unable to get to Charlotte, wherever in the world you are, you can watch it at AsheWrestling.com. That's where you can get all of the information. But this is a huge, huge show, and it's designed to also celebrate Juneteenth as well. So this is just great. It is absolutely great. And I love, and I know you do, I love that we have these kinds of cards and events that are happening in the space of pro wrestling where, you know, again, we are not a monolithic people and we're able to present a card that really shows the best of us, male and female, you name it, whatever, however, whatever floats your boat is represented on a show like this. And again, if you think about just the history of the main events that have happened at Ashe, our first one was Trisha Dora and Aja Kong. Like, what? So yeah, this one here, Shelton Benjamin and Jonathan Gresham, it's going to be nuts. There's a meet and greet for Shelton Benjamin earlier as well. So lots of great things happening. Again, all your tickets and all live stream information available at AsheWrestling.com.
I'm wondering, do we get ROH Jonathan or do we get current Impact Madman?
I wonder
right now.
I wonder. That's a great question.
Jeez, that'd be crazy. And if anyone has followed anything that Shelton Benjamin has done over the last few weeks as well, make sure you may have seen clips or the match itself, but his match against Leon Slater, his performance at Progress Wrestling, the Strong Style, is it Strong Style 6? 16, sorry. I knew there was a 6 in there. Match against Doris. Man like Doris is going to be there. The things that Doris has done in the last couple of weeks has been fantastic. That boy's misbehaving in the best way possible. For him to come out in that Strong Style 16, I think it was the quarterfinal against Shelton Benjamin, comes out with a bandana, rips it off. He's got golden hair, saying he's the gold standard of British wrestling. Wow. And then beat him.
Wow.
Crazy. Wow. And then there's a clip going around that I saw from the weekend. He faced Viva Van at GCW. Finished his own little story. Viva Van's got this whole thing where she does like the stink face, and he's been waiting for her to do it from the WrestleMania weekend. It didn't happen. It happened. He's been waiting weekend.
For anyone to do it. Misbehavior.
So that happened for him as well. And Viva Van Den won the match, but then Doris made sure the referee raised his hand. That clip is too funny. It's just too much. So the Ashe show is about to be amazing. I'm glad to see Doris is active. I know he's got other shows kind of in between or just after that as well. He's still going to be in the US for a few days or weeks. So yeah, man, excited to see what happens with all of those guys involved. And as you said, Gerard, man, it's just nice to see that we get excited about these types of shows on the indies, and we can still see dream matches within black wrestling and stuff like that. We're not waiting or necessarily begging for something like, Jonathan Gresham versus Will Ospreay or Daniel Bryan or, or John Moxley or whoever it is. We've got these dream matches that we genuinely get excited about within our own people. So that's amazing. So guys, check out all of that kind of stuff. We are at the end of our show. You have been watching WrstlXtra on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel. Follow and subscribe to make sure you see when we are on every single Tuesday, and of course to make sure you see when this guy Mex puts out all of his reactions to WWE, AEW, and everything else in between. And of course, stay tuned over the next couple of days. Mex will be putting out all his interviews from Clash at the Castle, including the exclusive. I'm going to shout that for like weeks. The exclusive from Chad Gable, as well as interviews with Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Nick Aldis, and of course you can see Mex as well with Gorilla Position, who are also a massive presence at Clash at the Castle as well. You can also find Mex with the Mandem on the Wrestling's YouTube channel as well. If you want to follow Mex on all the socials, it is WrestleManiac.uk on Instagram, WrestleManiac UK on X. Follow this guy if you can keep up with Gerard Bonner on all things Bonafide. You can also find him on here every single week, as well as WWT Live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can also find him doing his thing And make sure you check out all of these shows from All Caribbean Wrestling, Ashe, Southern Honor Wrestling, IWE, Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, Nightmare Factory. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Oh,
You can follow me, A Dazzle, on Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram and BWA Dazzle on X. Guys, this has been our time. Make sure you check out all the good stuff that these guys are doing and me as well in between when I get the chance. And we will see you again next week.